Real talk. When was the last time you heard someone say Islam was ahead of the modern world on women's rights? Probably never. Because that's not the story that gets told. Most people hear the exact opposite, that Islam restricts women, controls them, limits them. But today, I'm going to show you something completely different. Something that's been sitting in the original sources for 1,400 years, waiting for someone to actually read it. And once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. Let's get into it. Let's start with money. Because money tells you the truth about how a society actually treats its people. Under Islamic law, established over 1,400 years ago, a woman's wealth is completely hers after marriage. Completely. Her husband has zero claim to it. Not a little claim. Not partial rights. Zero. She doesn't have to share her income. She doesn't have to contribute to household expenses. She doesn't need his approval to invest, spend, or grow her money. Now let's put that in context. In England, the Married Women's Property Act wasn't passed until 1882. Before that, a married woman's property legally became her husband's. Her money, her assets, her legal identity, absorbed into his. In the United States, some states didn't give women full property rights until the mid-20th century. In parts of America, women couldn't open a bank account without their husband's co-signature until the 1970s. Islam had this settled in 620 AD, not as a reform, not in response to social pressure, as the original law. From day one. Here's where it gets even more interesting. In Islam, the financial responsibility for the household falls 100% on the husband. He must provide for food, shelter, clothing, and everything the family needs, even if his wife earns more than him, even if she's significantly wealthier. The wife, she has zero legal obligation to contribute to household expenses. Whatever she puts in is a gift, her personal choice, not a duty. Think about that. A woman could be the wealthiest person in the house and still have no legal obligation to pay a single bill. Her husband carries that responsibility completely. And there's one more layer to this. At the time of marriage, the husband is required to give the wife a Mahr, a mandatory financial gift. It's hers alone. Not a shared asset. Not a family fund. Hers. And it's a required part of the Islamic marriage contract. Now let's talk about something that surprises people even more than the money. In Islam, a woman keeps her last name after marriage. She does not take her husband's family name. She keeps her own, the name she was born with. Her identity stays intact. This isn't a cultural trend. It isn't a modern development. It's rooted in Islamic teaching from the very beginning. Marriage unites two people. It doesn't erase one of them. Women in the West began fighting for this exact right in the 20th century. In Islam, it was never a debate. The woman's name was always hers. Now, you might be wondering, if Islam gave women all these rights, why do we see so many Muslim women who don't have them? It's a fair question, and the honest answer is culture. In many Muslim-majority countries, cultural practices have diverged sharply from what Islam actually commands. Women in some regions have been denied education, work, financial independence, and basic rights. But here's the key distinction. That is a failure of culture, not a teaching of Islam. When you go back to the Quran and the authenticated Hadith, the actual source material of this religion, you find something completely different from the image in the headlines. You find a religion that protected women's financial rights at a time when most of the world still treated women as property. Those are not the same thing. Let me give you one more piece of evidence. and it comes from the very beginning of Islam. The Prophet Muhammad, before receiving revelation, was employed by a woman named Khadijah. She was a wealthy merchant in Mecca. She owned trade caravans. She ran a successful business. She was one of the most respected and financially powerful people in the city. She hired him. He managed one of her trading expeditions brilliantly. She was so impressed by his character and trustworthiness that she proposed marriage to him. He accepted, and Khadijah became the first person to believe in his prophethood, the very first Muslim in history, a wealthy, financially independent businesswoman, the first believer, the Prophet's wife. That is not a side note in Islamic history. That is the foundation of it. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. The truth about women's rights in Islam is almost nothing like what most people have been told. Islam gave women full financial independence, her wealth, her name, her choices, over 1,400 years ago, as original law. If this surprised you, it means you've been working with incomplete information. And that's okay. Now you have a better picture. If you want to go deeper, to learn what Islam actually teaches, directly from the source, check out the courses at Path to Islam. The link is in the description. Share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth. And I'll see you in the next one.